Let's move on. Final one I want to talk about. Andy Robertson again on contracts and futures and stuff now. Andy, obviously he's been back up, I don't know how to call it the right way, but he's back in the starting 11. He has been for the last few weeks. I think he's played Liverpool's last 4 games all as a starter, albeit one of them a centre-half. There was reports about his future and where we're at. Now I know you asked him the question in the mix on Paul about his future, and you want to elaborate on more on what the conversation with Andy went like?
Yeah, so we're obviously just talking about the game to begin with, but then I said to him at the end, you've started the last 4 games now, so you're clearly back in favour a bit. Has there been any talks over a new contract? Because he, like Canate, is a free agent at the end of the season, and I think that's gone a little bit more under the radar than Canate's situation has. And as you'd expect from Robertson, he was very honest and forthright in his answer. He said that essentially, no, there's been no talks at the moment, and wasn't really an issue for him just yet, but in the next few months it would start taking over his life, I think was his phrasing. So he said he had a stressful summer, which was alluding to the interest from Atletico Madrid and the fact that at one stage it might have even looked like he was going to go. But I just don't think there's any need to be, throw the baby out with the bathwater at the moment. I think he has shown, certainly in the last few games, of his value that he's still got to Liverpool, whilst Milos Kerkez continues to develop and continues to prove himself as a £40 million left back. So, has he done enough to justify maybe a little year extension? He's still only 31. I'd like to see it happen, to be honest, because I think it'd just be a little bit of a shame if he was discarded too soon, because I think, Sunday aside, where everyone was poor to a man really against a really good team, I think he's really been important, and particularly that Villa and the Real Madrid game.
There was reports, weren't they, linking him again as a Celtic. I think he's made comments in the past about maybe that's something he would consider towards the end. Because you mentioned there about maybe Liverpool extending him, but Mike, I'm with you. It would probably be like a year deal or two, and that's all well and good from a Liverpool point of view. But when you're a 31-year-old player, if someone comes and whacks a 2, 3, 4 year contract on the table, that is something you've got to consider as well. Yeah. There is then again, whether it's Celtic or wherever it becomes, like there's an emotional connection there as well. This isn't just a one-way street. This, if Liverpool go, yeah, Andy, here's another year, and he goes, yeah, sound. Like, there will be a decision to make from him as well. Unless Liverpool come with a decent length contract, it might not just be Liverpool's decision. He's very much got. He's clearly, he's an international footballer. He's the international captain. He will be able to go and sign a longer-term deal somewhere, maybe not at the level of the champions of England. But yeah, this idea that it's kind of like, we just come on the year deal and Andy will sign it. I think we're going to have to be respectful of the fact that he might say no to that.
Yeah, fair point. He did say in the quotes there that the club have been amazing for him and his family, but he's not been too bad himself, coming from Hull for £8 million. So clearly he realises his, what he has been able to achieve at the club. And the fact that he referenced that as well tells you that, he knows that he has exceeded all expectations, having come in for next to nothing really, wasn't it, in 2017. So
he was Albi Moreno's back up to probably Liverpool's greatest Premier League left back. I'm doing him a disservice. He is Liverpool's greatest Premier League left back. Liverpool have had more than their money's worth out of Andy Robertson. He's been absolutely fabulous. So he gets the right to do what he wants to do as well.
Yeah. But I still think he's got something to give as well. Like I say, I think Liverpool generally, certainly at the start of the season, were in a very good place with their left backs. They had the emerging Kerkez, who was in the PFA Team of the Year, with the experienced, seen that, been there, done it, won the lot, Andy Robertson, as is not understudy, but certainly, both of them jostling for that position on the left side, and whoever played, you'd be comfortable enough thinking that Liverpool have got a top player in that position. Kerkez has struggled, Liverpool have struggled, but generally, I think Liverpool are still okay in that position. I would just like to see Robertson, from maybe a selfish personal perspective, stay on another year and then get the grand send-off at the back end of next season when, we get all the bells and whistles at Anfield on the final game of the season.
It's interesting one around it, because maybe Liverpool will just wait to see how Milos Kerkez settles. There's no point saying to Andy Robertson, 2-3 year contract to sit on the bench for 2 or 3 years. But also, if Kerkez, like you mentioned before, it's clear to everyone. We can tell he's a talented player, but he hasn't exactly lit the world on fire for Liverpool. He is taking time.
Yeah.
there might be now value in these conversations of, right, if is Kirk a more long-term project, and therefore we do have to safeguard ourselves. What Liverpool aren't going to go and do is spend 20-30 million pounds on a backup left back.
Exactly.
They're not going to. They're not going to want to. Why would they do that? So there might be some value in saying to Andy Robbo, here's 2 years or whatever. It cost you X amount of pounds. That's still a better financial option than just lumping all this money on a left back who Liverpool ideally don't want to be playing that long, because they still want Milos Kerkez to be the first choice at some point.
Yeah, exactly that. And obviously they let Tsimikas go to Roma on loan, didn't they, as well? So clearly they've got the ducks in a row with regards to their left back situation. But yeah, I mean, he was given the vice captaincy as well, wasn't he, earlier in the summer? As a sort of reward for his influence, his standing within the group, and this idea that he was going to be on the pitch when Van Dijk wasn't, more often than not, for cup games and whatever. So it's I'd just be wary of letting Robertson go too soon. There are sort of tipping points for players, but I don't think he's at it yet, where performances have fallen off a cliff and age has got the better of him, and all those hard yards that he's been putting in, particularly during the Jurgen Klopp years. I don't think I still think he's got an awful lot to offer, and that is why it was interesting to hear him talk about his future. The other day when he said that they've yet to get anywhere in terms of being advanced.
Good question by you, done well there, mate. It's probably worth mentioning. We spoke about it a little bit there, but on the field what he's doing, but he is the vice captain as well. It's probably one of the reasons he stops to answer you guys' questions. He is a senior member of the squad, and when Liverpool are handily beaten by Manchester City, I know Virgil always speaks to everybody as the captain, but Andy Robbo is that as well. He's the vice captain of the football club. That isn't something that we should underappreciate as well. Yeah,
100%. It's he would have taken that as a massive honour, wouldn't he? Of course, he's captain of his country. He's a big character in that dressing room. Someone who players like Rio and Gamoa have sort of been taken under his wing a little bit. He sees them as the future of the club. Trey Ione as well, and he is around to, what's the word? Basically, take the mickey in a nice way. In a way that lets them know that they're all on the same par. They're not being treated as a special case just because they're young kids. And I think that's important. That sort of stuff behind the scenes is the type of stuff that we don't always see, isn't it? And we don't really know the value of, but he is important for that. He, like you say, he was important to get the right messaging out the other day after the poor results. Obviously Virgil stops, but it's good to hear from Robertson as well, and his takeover on the game itself, the decision that went against them, which he seemed particularly confused about as well. So yeah, he's I think Liverpool have got loads of leaders in there, haven't they? Dominic Szoboszlai got asked the question in the mix on last week after the Real Madrid game, about his own standing in the group, and he pointed to all the leaders that they've got. Obviously Van Dijk, he name-checked Robertson, name-checked Mo Salah, and Liverpool have got, was it maybe 4 or 5 national team captains in their squad, so I think they're okay on that front, and Robertson is one of the main ones. Yeah, absolutely. The last question then, Paul, to round this one up is, we mentioned before about being in no rush, I suppose, from either end to get rid of Andy Robertson or whatever, but at some point, and maybe this is being respectful to Andy Robertson, I don't think Liverpool can string him along a little bit. He mentioned there there's no talks now. We are in November. In theory, Andy Robertson in January can start talking to foreign clubs. Yeah. He can. That's allowed. I don't think this is one where Liverpool really want to be getting too far down the line. I know, for example, with Salah and Van Dijk last year and with Alexander-Arnold, the talks were continuing. It wasn't like Liverpool when it was radio silence and then these offers turn up in March, April, May. There was constant dialogue. Yeah. If Andy's saying there's been no talk yet, it's even an indication that, maybe someone needs to give him the heads up one way or the other. I don't think it would be fair, like he said before, it's going to start dominating his life in the last 6 months. Yeah. I think from just pure respect of the football club to a legendary player, which is what Andy Robertson is, Liverpool probably need at some point, and it's probably very soon, to start communicating exactly where everybody sits and where everybody lies. Agreed, yeah. And for me, it just seems a bit of a simple decision. If Robertson is happy to agree to it, just extend the stay. What a career you've had, and there's still more to come. That would be the simple option. What the alternative is, is there a James Milner situation to be had here, where it's a little bit of a pay cut because he's, into his 30s, but I think Milner was sort of 34, 35 when that deal came along. Robertson's still only 31. Not sure when his birthday is, but it seems to be relatively straightforward for me, and that's even before factoring in the fact that he's played the last 4 on the bounce. So, at the moment he's Liverpool's first choice left back, but at the same time, you can also speak to clubs about leaving on a free in 6 weeks' time.
Yeah, they're going to have to pull the finger out, aren't they, at some point and make a decision one way or the other. I think it should be respectful for him, to be honest with you, as well. To let him get his future sorted. Don't want to string him along too much, yeah, absolutely. That was a clip from Journo Insight. To check out the whole show, head to redmenplus.com or click the link in the description.